Welcome to the Word Around Town, Episode 8. If you're curious about what it's like to live, work, and play in Northwest Indiana, you're in the right place. From real estate trends, local housing updates, community events, schools, and the best of our local lifestyle, I try to cover it all. I'm Steve Jamrock with Real Estate Executives Premier, your local expert and host to all things Northwest Indiana. In each episode, I like to share a little bit about our local market, highlight what's happening around our towns, and help you stay connected to the communities that make Northwest Indiana such a special place to live. And in this week's episode, I'm going to update you on that real estate market and kind of give you a boots on the ground view of what I'm seeing out there. Also, it's time for a refresher on the buyer agency agreements and why we need them in place before we can show you a home. Also, speaking of showing homes, I saw a great one last week that I showed to a couple clients. I want to share it with you because it's straight off the set of the movie Hoosiers. And then around the region, in Crown Point, a long anticipated restaurant's finally getting ready to open. Crown Point's getting ready to host another World Series. A major expansion of one of our newest hospitals is underway. Over in Hammond, the downtown revitalization is getting a major boost from a restaurant opening there. Also, they've announced a major contribution to their Hammond College Bound program. Portage schools are redistricting. We'll talk about what you need to know. Cedar Lake now has a freaky fast sandwich option, and St. John may finally be getting the downtown area that it's always wanted. Plus, trick-or-treating and high school football sectionals are in full swing. But first, thank you to everybody who continues to support this podcast to help me grow it. Greatly appreciate all of you. If this is your first time watching, thank you. I'd be honored if you took a second, though. Hit that subscribe button so you can get notified when on the following week's podcast come out. And if you like what you hear, give it a thumbs up, please. Share it with anybody you know who may be interested. And, of course, if any of you have any comments, suggestions, questions, leave them below. I will get back to you. Now, let's sit back, relax, and we'll talk about what's going on in Northwest Indiana. So as we finish up October, it's always a good time to take a look back and see what we're seeing in our real estate market. And right now in Northwest Indiana, we're really seeing an interesting market. Buyer demand is still strong, but very selective. Housing inventory is still low and prices continue to remain elevated. So that is causing homes to sit on the market longer right now. The current average days on market in Lake County is 39 days, and over in Porter County, it's about 41 days. Now, with that said, though, there are certain homes that are still moving very quickly. We're even seeing multiple offers still in some situations. And these homes tend to be what I like to call Goldilocks homes. You know, price isn't too high, it isn't too low. The price is just right. Or they're in neighborhoods or communities where homes don't come on the market often, or more importantly, they have certain specific amenities that buyers are looking for. And when these properties come on the market, those selective buyers, they are ready to jump and come off the sideline. So while home buyers are being selective, when they see a property that fits what they're looking for, they're ready to make a move and make a move quickly. Now, the price ranges that I'm seeing the most activity in right now is between $200,000 and $400,000. And then the hottest price range is under $250,000. So if you have an updated, well-maintained home that's listed for $250,000 or under right now, there's a good chance that that property is going to move really quick. Now, some more good news is interest rates. Over the last few weeks, we've seen interest rates come down into the mid to low 6% range. Yesterday was a little bit of a blip as the Federal Reserve announced another rate cut to short-term interest rates, and this actually caused long-term rates to go up a little bit. Funny, huh? Also, a little bit of bad news is the government shutdown continues. So that is continuing to cause uncertainty in the markets, and again, the housing market does not like uncertainty. So a lot of buyers and sellers are kind of pushing the brakes a little bit, pausing any big financial transactions until they see how the government shutdown plays out and comes to an end. So hopefully we see that soon, and hopefully these rates continue to go down instead of back up. But again, talking to a lot of my trusted lenders out there, that is what we all anticipate, is that rates will continue to come down here for some time. So it's going to be a slow slow creep, but they will come down. So again, if you are looking to make a move, if you're curious about if it is a good time to buy or sell, remember, everybody's situation is unique and different. So reach out, be happy to discuss if the timing to get back in the market or to put your house on the market is right for you. All right. Speaking of buying a house, it's a great time to give a refresher on buyer agency agreements, because a lot of people I'm talking to still don't know what these are. And most likely, if you haven't been in the market for a home over the last year, or you haven't been paying attention to real estate news, or you haven't been paying attention to people like me who've been screaming from the rooftops about this, then you may not know what these buyer agency agreements are or why they're important and how they benefit you, the home buyer. But in Indiana, it is a law to have a buyer agency agreement, and let's think of it as a buyer representation agreement in place before a realtor of your choosing, like myself, can show you a property. All right. Again, this is an Indiana law. This isn't a sales tactic. This isn't something shady that we're trying to do as realtors to goad you into signing a long-term contract. This is an actual Indiana law that went into place in July of 2024. So what are these buyer agency agreements? Well, first, it must be signed by the buyer and the realtor of their choice prior to us as realtors being able to open that door and let you into a home. Now, we can make these as long or short as possible, but again, they must have a specific length of time, a start date and an end date. They also must highlight the realtor compensation, how I'm getting paid, what I'm charging as compensation, and who's responsible for paying that compensation and when that compensation is due. It also outlines my responsibility as a realtor when representing you. So why the law? Well, this all came about as part of a settlement of a lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors. And in Indiana, lawmakers determined that an agency relationship takes place once we start answering questions about that property. And that typically happens once we open that door and let you inside. So lawmakers determined that in order for us to represent you and in order for consumers to be protected, they wanted to see a buyer agency representation agreement in place prior to us being able to walk you into a home. So let's look at, though, what the benefits are of having that agreement in place. And first and foremost, it's transparency. You're going to know all the costs up front, who's responsible for paying those costs, and along with my duty to you as a realtor when representing you. Now, the important part here is it allows me to answer your questions. It also allows me to reach out on your behalf to ask questions from any other agents or anybody else involved in that particular property. And it allows me to advocate on your behalf and look out for your best interest. And this is the one that I think a lot of people miss and kind of diminish the importance of it. And having a realtor on your side and advocate for you, in my opinion, and of course I'm a little biased because I'm a realtor, but is so important. And yet so many people just kind of brush it off like, yeah, when I'm ready to go, I'll find somebody, like walking down the street and just like you find a vendor and like, oh, I'll buy a realtor today. And that's so many people take that approach when purchasing the biggest financial transaction of their life. It's really amazing to me. I mean, for example, I talk to people all the time who are interested in properties but they balk and don't want to sign into a buyer agency agreement, which is fine. But yet they'll go to an open house of that property and then they'll start asking questions to the agent at the open house. And that realtor at the open house is working on behalf of the seller. And of course, they have to treat you ethically, but yet the answer to your questions are going to be, biased because they are looking out for the seller's best interest, not yours. And the same thing happens with new construction. It's amazing that people will reach out. Hey, Steve, I've seen this property. I want to go take a look. No problem. But again, we have this law in place. I do have to ask you to sign this buyer representation agreement first. No, we don't want to commit yet. We're not ready. We'll just go ahead and go to the sales center. And by doing so, walking into that sales center, you're essentially doing the same thing, but you're not getting the representation. So when you walk into a new construction sales center, the first thing that they're going to have you do, they're going to be all friendly and ask you, hey, what's your name? How are you doing? We got to have you register in order to show you these homes here, answer your questions. And by registering, unbeknownst to you a lot of times, you automatically become a client of theirs if you look to purchase any properties within their development. And again, they're not there to represent you. They're there to represent the developer of that subdivision and the seller of those homes. So you're walking in to a sales center of new construction. You don't want to have a realtor there to advocate with you on your behalf because you don't want to sign an agreement, but you'll go in and sign and register with that builder who's not going to represent you. Just help it make sense to me. It's really crazy to me. So again, it's the importance of having that realtor there to advocate on your behalf. I can't understate the importance of that part of the buyer agency agreement. You're also going to have a go-to person. So many calls and so many questions I get so often are so simple, and it's funny the way that people try to find out answers to these questions, when in reality, if you had an agent and a realtor on your side who is ready, willing, and able to work for you and advocate for you, you have that go-to person. You want to know what the price of a property is? Call your agent. You want to know why that property had a price reduction or why it's sitting on the market for so long? Call your agent. You want to know who the builder of a property is? Call your realtor. You have that resource available to you at just about any time, and all you have to do is enter into that buyer agency agreement with them, and you have advocacy and a resource that is ready, willing, and able to work for you. So now, are there negatives? Yeah, not many that I can think of. I mean, the main negative is that you are entering into a contract, so you're going to want to make sure that you are comfortable with that person that is going to be representing you. That is why, having a buyer consultation up front is so important. Think of it almost like when you go and meet with an attorney. If you've ever had to need an attorney to represent you with something, you don't meet in a courtroom or at the negotiating table or arbitration table with that attorney for the first time. No, you actually have a meeting to discuss your case with them. And that's the same thing as with a buyer agency, a buyer consultation, is you sit down, we'll make sure that you understand and are comfortable with the terms of that buyer agency agreement. We'll also set expectations at that buyer consultation with each other and make sure that we're a fit personally as well. And that's why sometimes we even offer short-term agreements in these buyer agency, just kind of trial periods to make sure that we're a fit. Because there's times that, hey, I don't need the extra drama in my life from some people out there, so that we may not be a fit to work with each other. I am somewhat of a laid-back realtor. I kind of take the emotions out of the transaction. I find that works best when representing my clients. But there are people out there that need a highly emotional person. They need to be hugged and loved on and their hand held every step of the way. So again, having that buyer consultation sets those expectations, lets us get to know each other a little bit, but also we get to tell you about the benefits of having that advocacy and having that resource in place. And then the other negative, which really isn't a negative, but the thing that I like about it, it takes the looky-loos and the just curiouses out of the equation. Those of you that, oh my gosh, hey, Jim and Barb just put their property up for sale. I always wanted to see what they did with their basement. Let's go take a look. And you call that agent or you go online and schedule a showing so you can kind of be nosy and kind of see what that property is like, because you don't want to sign an agreement because you're not really in the market for a property. That's one of the reasons why I could see that you wouldn't want to sign a buyer agency agreement with somebody because you're not really a serious buyer. Let's be honest and call a spade there. The other situation where you could kind of get a little pushback, and again, you have to understand that we can tailor these agreements for you. An example, I have some clients, great clients, I love them dearly, but they're looking for their forever home. They're in no hurry. They're looking for something very specific. Again, goes back to buyers currently being very selective on what they want. And they've been looking for a few years now on these properties. And when something comes up, they call me and we sign a short-term agreement or something specific for that property. And if it's what they like, we go ahead and we move forward on it. But again, I'm not going to enter into a 10-year agreement with them because it may take another 10 years for them to find that specific property that they really, really love and really, really want. So again, it's knowing and understanding what the buyer agency agreement is and how we can use it to help benefit you and your home search. And guys, it's really time for y'all out there to start taking the home search and the home buying process seriously. It's the biggest financial transaction of most of your lives. You should treat it professionally and with a professional on your side to advocate on your behalf. Stop going down there and just kind of going to the Realtor vending machine and picking somebody offline randomly. Get to know the person. Your transaction will be 10 times better when you enter into that agreement and expectations are set. I guarantee you that. So, all right. That's buyer agency agreements. If you have any questions about those, please. I know it's confusing, and it's one thing that you should truly understand. So again, no obligations. Reach out anytime. I'll be glad to talk this through with you to make sure you understand that, especially if buying a new home here is in your near future. All right. So speaking of properties and showing properties, I had the honor and pleasure of showing a great home last week in Hebron. It's actually on the border of Hebron and Crown Point. Address is 14908 Montgomery Street. It's just off of US 231. It's a 7-acre parcel. It's an old working barn, old working farm with a barn on it. House was built in 1867. It's currently listed for $499,000. It's listed by Roger Pace of Berkshire Hathaway Real Estate. So thank you for letting me share this. And while it is built in 1867, it is one of the greatest well-maintained houses that I've come across. And the barn is straight out of the movie Hoosiers, but I'll get into that here in a second here. The house inside, it's dated, but it's clean. It's well cared for, well-maintained. Even the basement, usually you go into some of these older early century homes and, the basement is nothing more than a coal room, and it's creepy as hell. But this one is clean. It's not updated, I should say. It's just well cared for, well maintained. There are some quirks to it because, again, it is an 1867 farmhouse. So, it's got narrow staircases and the room sizes are a little off at times. But just a great piece of property out there. And in the barn's got to be 3,000 or 4,000 square feet. It's an old dairy barn. Clean as a whistle. It's cleaner than, and I'm embarrassed to say this, but it's cleaner than my house a lot of times. But when you go up into the loft of the barn, the hay loft, nailed into the wall of the barn is a basketball hoop. It's a wooden backboard nailed in with a hoop on it, and it is just the most iconic Indiana, straight out of Hoosiers thing that I've seen in a property. And the loft is big enough that you can actually have a full court basketball game up there if you wanted to, if you put a hoop at the other end. But just seeing that and being in a barn and seeing that nailed to the wall there and on a farm property, it was just so cool. If you want to take a look at it, you can go online. It's 14908 Montgomery Street. Google it, check it out. And of course, if this is something that may interest you, I'd be happy to show it to you after we enter into a buyer agency agreement, of course. But it's a really cool property. Take a look. And if you know anybody who's interested in 7 acres on the Hebron Crown Point border, reach out. Be happy to tell you more about that home. So, all right, off real estate and on to what's happening around Northwest Indiana. And the World Series is happening right now in Major League Baseball, so it's only fitting to kind of give a shout out to Crown Point Cal Ripken as they have been awarded the 2026 11U Cal Ripken World Series. This is on the heels of them hosting the 10U World Series the last 2 years. So this is just a great accomplishment for the Crown Point Cal Ripken organization and the city of Crown Point. It's not easy to get awarded these Youth World Series. So it's just a testament to the job that the Crown Point Cal Ripken organization is doing, and y'all as a community in Crown Point are doing as well, because it shows nationally when these national organizations come to your community. They see the time and effort that you're all putting in there, and then they're seeing the support from the community. That's one of the things that draws them to Crown Point, is that support from the community and the support of the organization as well. So a tip of the cap to y'all. You're doing a fantastic job. Keep it up. But that is just a great event, and we'll touch on that more as it gets closer next year in 2026. But on that same page of baseball, I just want to keep it going a little bit. Signups aren't for a couple months yet, but we truly are blessed here in Northwest Indiana to have some really great, we'll call it, town ball, I guess is the proper term now, town ball organizations throughout our communities here. And with the rise of travel organizations throughout all of youth sports, it's great to still be able to have some local, tight community local leagues in effect throughout Northwest Indiana. And, from Crown Point, St. John, Hammond, Cedar Lake, Lowell, Valparaiso Americans is making a comeback there, but they have some great facilities and great organizations that care about the kids, communities that are involved with the organizations as well. And again, it's just a great benefit to see that local town ball can still compete and still be strong throughout Northwest Indiana and still be a thing. So again, tip of the cap, all of you. If you have kids out there looking to play baseball, believe me, you don't just put them into travel baseball. Check out some of these town ball organizations. You won't be disappointed. All right. Sticking in Crown Point, the University of Chicago Hospital, located on 109th and I-65 in Crown Point, just opened 2 years ago, but it's already undergoing a major expansion. The hospital plans to add an additional 7,000 square feet to the current building. It's going to include some new exam rooms, some pre- and post-op surgery bays, and a new x-ray room, just to name a few. And this expansion just comes as the hospital continues to see strong demand from patients in the community, and they also are listening to what the community wants and needs and building off of there. So just, again, University of Chicago has been a great benefit to Crown Point. So seeing them expand and the demand that they're seeing, again, another great benefit to the city of Crown Point. Also great benefit in Crown Point is a longtime Valparaiso favorite is getting ready to open next week in downtown Crown Point, and that's the restaurant Radius. They're opening up on the northeast side of the square in the building that used to host the Valero's Mexican restaurant. The official date, again, is November 3rd, I believe. A few of the videos going around from a soft opening event on social media I saw, and the place looks awesome. Can't wait to check this place out. And Radius is well known for its burgers and its great food, but they also made the basement really special for their guests. It's going to be a speakeasy style bar in their basement there. Really cool, really unique experience, and it's really fitting with the history of Crown Point to have kind of a speakeasy style bar down there in the basement of Radius. So again, it's just another gem of a restaurant and establishment coming to the downtown Crown Point Square, and just adds to a lot of the other quality restaurants and retail throughout downtown Crown Point. So can't wait to try that out. That's Radius restaurant opening on November 3rd. Excuse me. Now, on to Hammond, and they continue to revitalize their downtown area. And I'll touch on downtown Hammond at a later podcast, but they're getting a boost here with a restaurant that's getting ready to open downtown from a local Hammond resident. And while it's not entirely new to Hammond and the downtown area, opening every day is going to be new. But the restaurant is called Eat. It's an American bistro. It's located on Hammond Avenue, and it's operated by longtime Hammond resident Raimundo Garcia. And you would know them because they owned the region Hammond favorite El Taco Real restaurant. It's one of the best Mexican restaurants in the region. But the Eat restaurant, it's one of their concepts, and it's been downtown for a while now, but it's only open for special events. And now they've seen such an increase in traffic in the downtown area as people continue to move back into downtown Hammond, and more and more commercial comes back to downtown Hammond, that they decided to go ahead and open a daily. So again, that's Eat on Homan Avenue in downtown Hammond. It's billed as an American bistro, and if it's anywhere near as good as El Taco Real, again, it's just a great benefit to downtown Hammond as they continue to revitalize down there. Sticking with Hammond, a few podcasts ago, we talked about Hammond getting a big economic boost from a data center that is building at the old State Line generating station there in Hammond. But they are going to offer more than just an economic boost to Hammond. This is such great news for the city of Hammond. They are committing $80 million to Hammond's college-bound scholarship program, which is going to fully fund that program for the next 20 years. $80 million to fund the Hammond College-Bound Scholarship Program, which provides scholarships to Hammond residents to attend a university once they get out of high school. Just great news, a great opportunity for the residents of Hammond to take advantage of this program as well. The Hammond College-Bound program has been a huge benefit of keeping people living in Hammond so they can apply for these scholarships. It's been a huge benefit, and knowing that for the next 20 years, it's going to be funded and available for the residents. Again, just a wonderful, wonderful blessing for the city of Hammond. So if you have any questions about the Hammond College-Bound program, check out the city website or Google Hammond College Scholarship. Hammond College-Bound Scholarship. It will come up there as well. And I'll link a link in the comments below for you to take you there as well. So, and of course, any questions you want to talk about Hammond and what it's like living there, reach out anytime. Be glad to talk to you about that as well. All right. Now, on the negative of the data centers, and we'll talk a little bit more. We're going to continue to talk about data centers. Let's face it, they're not going away. But there's a $12 billion data center that was proposed in New Prairie. That's St. Joe County, just east of LaPorte. And it's facing some strong opposition right now because, one, an $11 billion data center just opened up that was built by Amazon in New Prairie. And now this new data center wants to piggyback off the Amazon data center since the infrastructure is already in place. But residents are saying, whoa, let's pause a second before we get overrun by these data centers. So it received an unfavorable recommendation by a special committee, but now it is passed back to the St. Joe County Council for a final vote. Not sure how that's going to go, but based on what I've read and what I'm hearing out of the New Prairie, LaPorte areas, that residents aren't too happy about this, and they are really pushing not to have this data center in place. But again, I expect this moving forward to become more of a norm as residents continue to push back against the data centers because, let's face it, AI is growing rapidly. They need more and more data centers, and there's so much money involved in these data centers. I mean, we're talking billion-dollar investments here. And they are looking at Northwest Indiana particularly because we still have a lot of vacant land available. We have access to a lot of water, and we're building infrastructure to house existing data centers. So they need a lot of power, and they see that in place. So they want to take advantage of coming to Northwest Indiana, where the items that they need are really readily available. Now, As residents continue to push back, though, it's going to be interesting to kind of see the tug of war because, again, there is so much money in AI and these data centers that I can see companies start offering some really big economic incentives to communities, especially communities who may need that economic impact, that is going to make it quite difficult for them to say no. So as residents, make sure you pay attention to what's going on and the land that's being bought up around you, and pay attention to your city and council and county council meetings, what's coming up there for development. Because again, these data centers aren't going away. AI is just the tip of the iceberg right now. So they're going to need more and more data, more and more power. And Northwest Indiana, they see as a prime opportunity for that. So again, be very interesting. We'll stay up to date here on the podcast as well, what's happening with data centers as we move forward. All right. Into Gary, another business is expanding in Gary, the Organic Bread of Heaven. That's the name of the company. It's expanding their Fifth Avenue bakery. The bakery specializes in sourdough products, including bread, rolls, pizza crust, bagels, and also offers, protein bars, granola. And since the bakery does not use preservatives, you're not going to find this stuff on the grocery shelves. They ship directly to customers, or you can order online and pick it up at their bakery on Fifth Avenue itself. And this is really unique. This is the first I've heard of this. I'm going to check it out myself because I think this is something that our communities in the region need, is clean food options instead of just going to the grocery store. So really cool, really great benefit for the city of Gary. Can't wait to check it out. Again, that's the Organic Bread of Heaven in Gary, Indiana. So St. John has long wanted a downtown retail corridor, but they've really had issues with finding where that's going to fit until recently. As the sprawling gates of St. John continues to sprawl and bring in more and more tremendous residential growth to the area along US 231 and US 41, commercial and retail are now expanding rapidly in that area. And the corner of US 231 and US 41 is just prime for commercial development. Actually, a Family Express gas station and convenience store is already under construction. That would be on the southwest corner of US 231 and US 41. And then the corridor of US 231 be east of US 41, that is where we're starting to see a lot of commercial and retail development already in place. Just outside of the gates of St. John is a retail development that's going up, and then also to the southeast corner of US 231 and Parish is another large retail and commercial development that's going in there as well. And this is the area that has St. John really excited, this along 231, as they envision more and different dining options move into the area along with retail as well. And they're envisioning it more of a open air community, walkable kind of downtown feel that they've never had before. So it'll be very interesting to see how this gets developed there along 231 in St. John. Again, while it is going to be a tremendous boost for our region with more options for everybody out there, again, I know a lot of you are probably rolling your eyes right now going, oh my God, what about the traffic there? Yeah, that is going to be a concern. And that is why we need to make sure that we stay on top of the Indiana Department of Transportation, as US 231 is a state highway, so they do maintain that. There are roundabouts planned for the intersections of Klein Avenue and Parish along 231. The preliminary work is being completed, but again, we need to make sure that they stay on track and on time to complete those roundabouts to help out with traffic there. So this is going to be a problem. It's I won't say it's a good problem to have, but it's when communities continue to grow and Northwest Indiana is not slowing down anytime soon. Commercial and retail follow there. And unfortunately, sometimes it comes in as companies want to be the first to get in there and capitalize on that, and they come in before the infrastructure is actually in place. So definitely want to make sure that we stay on top of it with our community, stay involved with planning and zoning meetings there that come into play into your local communities as well, to make sure that they stay on top of building out the infrastructure needed to help out with the economic growth that we're seeing in Northwest Indiana. All right, over in Portage, Portage Township schools are redistricting next year. So if you're thinking of moving to the city of Portage, or if you're there currently, you're going to want to pay attention to the Portage Township Schools website and the redistricting that's going on there. Right now, the redistricting is needed just because population is shifting, and Portage is growing immensely, just like a lot of our other communities as well. So the biggest changes that I've seen is that the Islesworth Elementary School is going to be raised and then rebuilt into a middle school there to join Willow Creek Middle School. And those two schools will host 7th and 8th graders, while the existing Fegley Middle School will be transitioned into an intermediate school hosting 5th and 6th graders. So questions there, it's best to reach out to the Porter Township School Corporation or check out their website and make sure you understand what's happening with redistricting there in the Portage area. And lastly, in Cedar Lake, you can finally get some freaky fast sandwiches, as Jimmy John's is opening at 7926 Lakeshore Drive, offering another dining option to another fast-growing community down there in Cedar Lake. Now, typically, this is where I would go into what's happening and what are the events that are going on this weekend in Northwest Indiana. But let's face it, it's Halloween weekend. It's going to be dominated by trick-or-treating on Friday and probably Halloween parties throughout the weekend. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a link in the comments below to the trick-or-treat times for all of our communities. And then I'm also going to add a link in there for the high school sectional football schedules, because those go into full swing this weekend. There's some great matchups out there, going to be beautiful. So if you want to check out some Friday night lights, check out the schedule, go support your local schools, and check out some great football here. So I wish you a very safe and happy Halloween weekend out there, trick-or-treating and doing whatever you're doing there. Thanks for watching. We'll check back with you next week, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.